What's the most random fact you know about? I used to always notice that Bart Simpson is left-handed, and then someone pointed out that pretty much everyone in Springfield is left-handed. I can't unsee it. Weird that Ned Flanders' leftorium didn't appeal to the entire town of Springfield. Well, certainly not the whole town, but his store performed poorly in the beginning because of a lack of advertising, but mostly because Homer wished for his store to suck with a wishbone. In When Flanders Failed, Ned mentions that 1 in 3 Springfieldians are left-handed, and Homer eventually tells left-handers such as Moe, Mr. Burns, Barney, Lenny, Lionel Hutz, etc. of the store, and it becomes a success. What was the title of your doctoral thesis? Well, you see, the thing about a doctoral thesis is that one is required to get your doctorate degree, but back in my day you were elected the town's top doctor if you could estimate someone's heartbeat to within 400 beats per fortnight. Of course, we didn't have surgical equipment or sanitizer in those days thanks to the embargo from the Kaiser in 1922. In fact, if you had to cut someone open you had to use lobster claws. Lobstotomies, I think they were called. Now here's where shellfish tools get tricky, because after World War II the US saw an influx of Jewish immigrants that couldn't be operated on with shellfish, so we had to invent a new way of curing diseases. So back then we just gave polio to anyone who was sick, and then by comparison their first disease didn't seem so bad. Of course that was before Taft put a ban on practicing religion from February 8 of 1910 to February 10 of 1910, but back then we didn't call the month February, it was known as Jarch, because it came right in between January and the annual marching parade that occurred on April 2nd. Anyways, where was I? Oh, that's right, so back then you didn't get a lollipop for going to the doctors. No, they used to carry around a big staff with a snake on it, and if you were bad they'd bite you with venom. Captain Crunch's full name is Horatio Magellan Crunch. This is the most useful comment on here. Potentially a friend of Charles Entertainment Cheese. 1 horse is 15 horsepower at a sprint. Those bastards lied to me. Well, a horsepower is the measure of the power a horse can output sustained for a whole day. Edit for clarity, a horse can sustain a specific amount of energy over a 24 hours period without dying. 1 horsepower is the power at any given instance, assuming the horse is working consistently. The reason this is power and not energy is because it only measures the rate the horse is working, not the total output of the horse over the whole day. Shaq is a police officer. You can't turn off the shutter sound on mobile phones in Japan. The reason for this is that upskirt photography is common, and to reduce it they decided to add sound to make it easier to spot the pervert. It's the same in South Korea, although I don't know if the reason is the same. It used to be true on all Samsung phones. That and turning the volume up past halfway for more than a few minutes would cause a voice to warn about hearing loss, and it would turn back down. My phone does that. I hate it. Cause it sometimes does it when I'm connected to car BT. I use the volume in the car to maintain volume, don't turn it down on my phone. Oh, that explains why the shutter sound can't be turned off on Nintendo 3DS. There has only been one US president arrested while in office, and it was Grant on the charge of speeding and reckless driving in his horse and buggy. Simpler times, am I right? If a group of penguins feel threatened, they put the women and children in the middle and form a huge circle around them with the males facing inwards, and they spray their crap out to fend off predators. I feel I was treated like a predator in high school. Barcelona, Spain, is more northern than New York City. Thanks, I would not have guessed this. I immediately thought you were wrong and had to check a map to confirm this. Sharks are older than the rings of Saturn. If that's true, then that's actually really cool. Sharks are also older than trees. The rings of Saturn are only 100 million years old compared to sharks' 450 million years. You hate the sound of your recorded voice because it's missing the low frequency you're used to hearing. When you talk, you hear your voice as it goes to the air and back to your ear. It also goes through your skull to your ear, and this bone conduction mechanism transmits the low frequencies better than air does. Your recorded voice only has the air transmitted sound. That causes the dissonance between what you think your voice sounds like and what it really does. It's also why your voice will always be higher pitched than you think. That's weird. My voice always sounds lower pitched when I listen to a recording. Same, whenever I hear it in recordings I'm always saying, that's not my voice, that's too deep every single time. Omaha, Nebraska was firebombed by Japan during World War II. No casualties and residents weren't aware until the next morning. Japan launched 9,000 balloons with firebombs attached into the wind. They hit 26 states as well as Canada and Mexico. Nobody was hurt except in Oregon, where an unexploded bomb killed a woman and 5 children. The whole incident was covered up so that it wouldn't scare the public during the war. Web link. The cicada mating call is made by males chirping really loudly, which we all know. But you didn't know that the female's positive response is made by clapping her wings together, which sounds almost exactly like snapping your fingers. So if there's a tree of horny cicadas in your backyard that won't shut the F up, walk over to it and start snapping your fingers to catfish them into being quiet and trying to find the DTF female. If you're lucky, one might catch on and land on your arm. This is not the sort of awful I care to waste my luck on. That's a shame because I would. I will be covered in horny cicadas and at last earn my title as the cicada queen. When a whale dies, it falls to the bottom of the ocean. This phenomenon is called a whale fall, and an entire small ecosystem can thrive on the carcass for a few years. I always thought this was neat until I mentioned it to my marine bio expert friend, who informed me the whales fall while they're dying, not after they die. Basically, they become unable to keep swimming and drown on the ocean floor. Thanks for that bit of info. Way sadder. But I guess that's what we're here for, is random facts. Laughing out loud. The national animal of Scotland is the unicorn. The one time I was in the British consulate, needed an emergency passport, my kid asked the officer why there was a unicorn on the seal and he didn't know. He kind of awkwardly said, that's something I should know really. Anyway, the next day I got an email explaining the whole thing, so I guess he did some research. Due to the number and density of skyscrapers in Tokyo, normal GPS systems don't work. To fix this, the Japanese government put 2 geostationary GPS satellites in orbit over Tokyo. It turns out Japan is putting a new GPS system in orbit that will orbit over Japan and Australia. Neat. Web link. Dolphins can tell the difference between 2 marble-sized balls, one made of Russian and one of American steel, from a 50-meter distance. There were experiments training these animals to carry explosives to hostile submarines. Whale milk is 95% body fat and the consistency of toothpaste. Young whales don't drink their mother's milk so much as they chew it. That's one of the more disgusting things I've heard. The harmonica is the world's best-selling musical instrument. Probably because of those cheap plastic ones you can buy at arcades for tickets. The severed head of a sea slug can grow a whole new body. An English manager has never won the English Premier League. The only member of ZZ Top without a beard is called Frank Beard. Same deal with 70s female singers and Kate Bush. The lighter was invented before the matchstick. Was a Frenchman whose medical condition caused him to be perpetually hungry and attempt to eat anything and everything to sate it. Web link. Terrare, did you eat a effing baby? Peacock mantis shrimp can throw a punch at 50 miles per hour, which can accelerate quicker than a .22 caliber bullet. Peeing on a jellyfish sting does not do anything to disarm the UN-fired stinging cells, nematocysts. Vinegar, however, is extremely effective. In 1918, British soldier Henry Tendy spared the life of a wounded German that got lost in the battlefield, and suddenly spotted Henry about 30 feet in front him, stopping completely. Seeing how helpless, injured, and unarmed the German soldier was, Henry lowered his sniper and waved him off. The German soldier noted thankfully, turned around and left. The German soldier was Adolf Hitler. Edit. Have to credit YouTuber John Bolin, whom's told that story in a compilation of incredible but true facts, and his whole channel in general is just really great, so worth a check. Movie trailers got their names because they were originally shown after the movie. And footage gets its name from measuring the length of film reels in feet. Elephants flap their ears to keep themselves cool. In an experiment, scientists were able to keep an axolotl head alive on another axolotl for more than a month. Henry Ford, founder of Ford Motor Company, hated Jewish people so much that not only did he revive square dancing in the US, a dance so old it was considered old-fashioned even back then, but Hitler also talked about him positively in an interview 2 years before his rise to power, where he said, "I regard Henry Ford as my inspiration." Hated Jewish people so much that not only did he revive square dancing in the US, a dance so old it was considered old-fashioned even back then. Wait, what does square dancing have to do with Jewish people? The fork-tailed drongo, an African bird, will mimic the alarm calls of other bird species so that they'll fly off from what they're feeding on, and then the drongo comes in and snatches their food. Sounds like an butthole, right? Not so fast. They will also warn other birds if an actual predator is in the area. So why do they do it? Perhaps to build goodwill with the species they steal from, so that they'll be believed when the drongo want to steal a particularly tasty snack. A tennis racket only has one string. They oftentimes have two. Many serious players use one string for the horizontal crosses and another one, often made of different material, for the vertical, to get the best mix of properties for hitting the ball. The weight of all the ants in the world is roughly the same as the weight of all people in the world. Astronomers speculate that there are planets made almost entirely of diamond out there. Source: web link. That the reason human babies take so long to develop outside of the womb is because if our craniums grew to a size where we could develop more in the womb, the mother wouldn't survive the birthing process. I've heard it said that as a result of this, humans are all essentially born premature, at least compared to all other great apes. Russian has the same word for both penis and horseradish, kren. The color orange is named after the fruit, which was introduced to Europe around 1500. Before that, people called it yellow red, or saffron, as in, the spice. The term redhead was coined before the color was named, or else they'd be orange-haired. Web link. Celsius is based off the freezing point of fresh water. Fahrenheit is based off the freezing point of salt water. If the empty space were removed from the structure of matter, the entire human population could fit into the volume of a sugar cube. No one knows the etymology of the English words jam, as in the food, and dog. Up until the 19th century, hound, from the German Hund, was used. There's a species of immortal jellyfish that's literally called the immortal jellyfish because they don't die, they just revert to their polyp, juvenile, stage over and over again. There's also a jellyfish called the irukandji. This is as small as a fingernail and can send a full-grown human into cardiac arrest with its stinging cells. They are both the smallest and one of the most venomous jellyfish in the world. They inhabit the northern marine waters of Australia. Of course, they effing do. Bananas can't reproduce without the help of farmers, which also means every banana you've eaten has been a clone of each other. Restaurant salmon are typically dyed pink. The reason for this is that most farm-raised salmon are fed kibble, which helps them taste better. However, their diet makes them look naturally gray. Their natural counterparts have a red color because they typically eat krill and shrimp. However, they taste gamier. So, to make farm-raised salmon look more natural, they dye the meat pink to keep the taste of the kibble, and the appearance that everyone is accustomed to. Ohio is the only U.S. state to not share a letter with the word mackerel. Predators often have their eyes in front, to help them focus while catching a prey. Prey animals have their eyes on the side, to check for any predators. Echidna have four-headed genital. Octopus is a Greek word rather than a Latin word. Thus, the plural form is octopodes. The word dog has no origin that we know of. It's just a word that appeared out of nowhere during the Old English times. Every other language the origin for the name of the animal can be traced. Also, weird. When English first discovered Australia, they realized that in one of the local languages also used the word dog for dog. Another weird language coincidence. The Cherokee, U.S. native tribe, for you Euros out there, and the Marathi Indian word for squirrel, salali, is the same. Cats can swim. They just typically don't like to. Cats can do X, they just don't want to be a true statement where X equals anything from be friendly, to eat that food that's still in the bowl. Reno, Nevada is further west than Los Angeles, California. The game Monopoly was created by a woman who wanted to push a narrative that capitalism is bad for the community. She sold it for $500 and it was changed to promote capitalism by who else but capitalists. A raccoon can fit inside a human's butthole. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.